Alright, it's been a while. Oh god. You can tell it's been a while because my camera setup is all sorts of wonky. None of it looks right. Good? I don't know what the word is. Whatever. It's fine enough. So, very basically, here's what's happening. After I just unzip this because it's a little warm all of a sudden. So, what's happening here is I have this really cool brand new Death Guard model. I bought it yesterday because it was the first day you could, and I am going to be painting this up. First off, because I just wanted to anyway. It looks really cool. And second, more importantly for this, is my local game store is having a painting contest, so I kind of want to enter it. It has to be with a model that you purchased between a certain time frame, and this was purchased in that time frame, so why not? I don't know. I don't exactly know how good it's going to be, but if this doesn't end up working out, I have an alternative. In fact, I want to grab it real fast. If that doesn't work out, then I have this. That's not right. I have a fetid bloat drone that does look really cool, and it's some of my best work so far, in my opinion. It just looks real good. There's a lot of hidden details, and it just looks super cool. So this is an alternative. But otherwise, I'm gonna plan on using the Miasmic Malignifier. I already have it built into a lot of sub-assemblies. Like, there's the main furnace, there's the pox furnace, which is separate by default. And then there's all of these little pieces, which I've pre-sprayed in various different colors. Because these, just having them separate will make painting this a lot easier. Because these parts will like obscure detail. Well, except with the exception possibly of just the pox furnace and the little pipe that leads out of it. But I just wanted to base coat them. I wanted to undercoat them different colors because that makes the painting process a lot easier. So that pretty much is what's gonna be happening today. I want to paint most of this, or at least a good portion of it, on stream, because I want to document it. Because this is my submission for an actual contest I will be entering it in, hopefully. Assuming all things go well. I don't know where I'm going to put the rest of these pieces, so I guess behind my camera will work. So yeah, that's what's happening right now. I have an idea for how I'm going to paint this with a pox furnace elsewhere. I just want to focus on the Malignifier right now. I have a bunch of paints laid out on the side here. I will need more of these, and I don't even know if I'm going to use all of these. Like, I don't know if I'm going to use Rekarth Flesh. I might, but it's not, like, guaranteed. Whereas I have plans, or at least a general idea of how I'm going to use most of, if not all of, the rest of the colors I have laid out. For the most part. Again, I have a rough framework in my head. Actually, I want to take this, make it a little bigger, because that's the really good camera. So, this is what we're doing today. I already know how I'm going to start this. With, not that brush, so many brushes. Unfortunately, I only have Citadel brushes, which sucks because they're not that great. Hold on, where's my rag? Hold on. There we go. Cleaning rag. Okay, let's get this thing started. Yeah. I have an idea for what I'm going to do for most of this. Taking ideas I learned from painting the Great Unclean One, which I'll show off in a bit because it also looks super cool. I will start by shading the entirety of the model. At least all the parts I want to keep Death Guard green. It'll make sense in a bit, don't worry. So I'm starting off with just shading everything that I want to keep as Death Guard green. I'm not really showing most of it on camera because I'm bad at camera positioning. And now you can kind of see why I decided to leave out some of the parts as sub-assemblies. Because that makes... just leaving them detached from the model makes this part and just painting everything else afterwards a whole lot easier. Already gonna need more. Gonna use a lot of Agrax Earthshade for this step. Just gonna drown my palette in it. I still have too much on my brush right now. This model's a lot bigger than I thought it was going to be when I first bought it. Not gonna lie. Which is kind of good, if I had to be honest. I mean, actually, is the audio good? I can't really tell. I don't know if my mic is loud enough. In fact, I guarantee it's not. I'm gonna wait a bit just in case somebody says no, that the mic is actually good. It is a big furnace. This thing is kind of huge. Okay, good. Chat is showing up on screen. First off, I haven't streamed in a while. Second, I haven't used this paint setup in a while, which sucks because I like it a lot. Well, rather, it works, and I'm not really gonna worry about it too much. I'll need a different shade brush to get in those small areas. But yeah, this model, the Miasmic Malignifier, is, assuming everything goes well, going to be my submission for a painting contest held at my local game store. I have until February 14th to submit a model that I purchase in that time. Also, yes, it is a big funny Nurgle Bong. I agree. Yeah, I'm gonna need to break out the medium shade brush. So, this is most likely going to be what I'm submitting. So, one of the things I want to do is I want to try to document as much of the painting process, at least the important stuff, as possible. So I'm starting right now with applying a lot of Agrax Earthshade everywhere. Well, not everywhere, just like to all the parts that are going to eventually go back to being Death Guard green. It makes more sense than it sounds, and I'll explain that in a bit. I need to finish this top part of the furnace. And this side vent. Like, I don't consider myself the greatest painter in the world, but I'm certainly not a bad one. I've made some good stuff in the past. Like, I showed off my fetid bloat drone a little bit ago, and I'm super proud of it. I think it's some of my best work, although it does need a little bit more improvement. And then there's also my Great Unclean one, which I think my fetid bloat drone is a little bit more impressive, simply because I came up with that color scheme all on my own. Whereas with the Great Unclean one, I followed a guide, like directly from the Warhammer YouTube channel. But that's mostly because I didn't really know what kind of color scheme I was going for. Well, I didn't know if I wanted to make a color scheme, so I wanted to just keep the Great Unclean one kind of neutral. And then decided for my Nurgle, for just both my Nurgle and Slaanesh Demons army, when I eventually build those, that yes, I'll just keep them bog standard. No pun intended for Nurgle. Okay. Unfortunately, I just remembered that shade paints take a while to dry. So, I should probably keep that off my playmat. What I will do is I'm going to apply this to the Pox Furnace as well. Just because I have it here already, why not? Also, is my audio fine? I messed with my setup. I messed with my mic stuff a little bit a couple days ago, because there's a certain audio effect that I wanted to see if I could replicate, because it plays a huge factor in Corpse Party, and I'm writing a video about it. Very, very slowly, I'm writing a video. And I just, for a bit, I wanted to see if I could replicate that. And it turns out I can. I just need to be careful. A lot of shade. That's that. Okay. And I got shade on my fingers, but that is to be expected. I hate cleaning this brush. The large shade brush is annoying to clean because the shade really sticks in deep, and there's a lot of bristles that the shade paint can stick in deep in. Stick deep in, or stick in deep, either one, not both. So cleaning this one's a little bit of a pain. So that's that. Agrex Earthshade is applied. So, let me just get rid of Discord stuff. I'm just going to go ahead and turn up my audio. I don't trust it to be good. Actually, no. Before I do that, I want to give it a quick listen. That'll also help the Agrex Earthshade to dry a little bit. This is gonna be a bit weird, hold on. This is gonna be a bit weird, hold on. Okay, never mind. Everything is good. I think. Let me turn it up just a tad. That should be better. Yes, I have to do it. I have to do it from all the way down there. Don't worry about it. So one thing I could do now, while I'm waiting for that to dry a bit more, is I've got some parts of the I got some sub-assemblies that need some stuff done to them. So these two parts, this little pipe and a little grate, are supposed to go, if you look on the actual model, here. They are supposed to, well, first off, supposed to fit together in some way that it doesn't want to do right now, like that, and then sit like that. So it's supposed to look kind of like this, if you can see it. This little area right there, if you're looking from the top down, right about there. But the reason why I didn't just glue that on is because there's maggots in there, so I should paint those first. There's also flies on top, but I don't have to worry about that. Well, I can worry about that after I glued them together. Because there's also flies all over the rest of the models. So, I'm going to paint these maggots first off. And I think I know just the color to paint them with. There we go. Found it. Screaming Skull. I did the same thing on my Great Unclean one. In fact, let me show that real fast. Oh yeah. It's a big beefy lad. I've used this thing a couple times. It's so much fun. It's not the greatest, but it does do its job. Yeah, if you look real close, these bits right there, those are maggots. They're just dripping off the Great Unclean one. So those are the Screaming Skull bits. Also some of the highlights on the horns, but I'm bad at those. So that's what color I'm going to paint these ones. Except actually, I don't think I want to glue these pieces on after I'm done painting the maggots, because there's another effect I want to try. Or at least the grate won't be glued on. Yeah, no, I'll paint all the sub-assemblies on at the very end. Unless I know for sure that they can be glued on safely. That sounds like a good idea to me. So let's do it. Where's the right brush? There's so many brushes right here. There we go. Oh, come on. Ugh. Just a little bit of water, not that much. This is not gonna show up on camera at all. You can see it a little bit on the side view camera. And I'm already messing it up a little bit. By messing it up, I just simply mean painting A little bit too far on accident, but that's why I can fix it up later. Now you can see why I didn't glue the grate on. So I can reach this from both sides and paint all of the maggots. I think I should probably talk through part of my general process with this model. So, the idea of the Miasmic Malignifier, or the Nurgle Bong, is it's just a big furnace that spews disease far and wide. Like on the tabletop, it has a rule where like whatever contagion you give it, which normally is preset to Nurgle's gift because your entire army has that, assuming you have all Death Guard and no demons, which demons are no longer in the Death Guard Codex, so you have to run them as a separate attachment. It's just going to be constantly spewing out that kind of disease. So, I want this to fit with the rest of my Death Guard color scheme, which is it's mainly purple and black, but I don't think it's gonna work with this. Oh, there's one part I forgot the shade. Hold on. Let's bust out the medium shade brush. I lost it for a bit, and then I rediscovered it a couple days ago when I was doing some cleaning. That's gonna make this take a little bit longer, unfortunately. Oh, that's right. This brush sucks at first. I have to actually get it wet, then get it unwet, because right now it's just like doing nothing with the shade. It's barely reacting. Whereas I needed to absorb the shade and then release it. Okay, that's better. This thing is mostly safe to touch now. Doing some touch-ups while I'm at it. It's not quite entirely safe to touch. Just yet. Only mostly. I know you can't actually see, but everything is going well right now. I just need to touch up that area. That actually probably gave the inside of this pipe enough time to dry, so now I can fix my little mistake. Citadel brushes are terrible. I hate them. But they're all I have right now. Just a little bit. Enough for a small touch-up. That'll work. Can make things a little bit cleaner in there too. Yeah, that's about it. Really just need a quick touch up and that's it. I don't know yet how I'm going to paint the flies that are all over the model, so I'm going to leave those out until I have a workable color scheme for those. Now, unfortunately, this little bit still needs to dry since I missed it the first time, but I can still walk you through what I'm planning on doing next. So, next up, now that I've shaded all of this, the shade is getting into that paint and it is getting into the recesses. My next idea is now I'm going to dry brush Death Guard green back onto it. It's which is not going to be the same as just painting Death Guard green on the model like normal, like a base coat. Dry brushing it will mean it's way lighter, neon brown. Okay, I'll get back to that. I have an idea for it. So now that this is shaded with Agrax Earthshade, I'm gonna dry brush the Death Guard green back onto it. So the shade will still show a little bit under the dry brushing, and especially in all of the recesses. I know you're being a gungus. Shut up. I have a plan anyways. So my main idea is like, because this is supposed to be like this is a furnace that generates disease and spreads it around everything. So what I do with my own Death Guard army is purely for Death Guard, not for like my Nurgle stuff, my demons I should say, is I use Death Guard green instead of being for the armor, being for incredibly corrupted and infected skin and flesh, which the Malignifier is kind of made of. Like, it's pretty much just a bunch of like flesh grafted together in the shape of a disease furnace. That's kind of what's happening. At least that's supposed to be the texture of it, based on all of the art of it that I've seen. So I'm gonna run with that, which is why I started. It didn't really matter ultimately what I undercoated it as. I could have undercoated it Chaos Black like I do my normal Death Guard army, but again, this is just a bunch of disgusting and infected flesh, so it's mostly green. But I'm shading the undercoat and then dry brushing the same color as the undercoat on top to show that shading underneath it a little bit, and especially in all the recessed areas. That'll make it look way more gross and infected than just normal Death Guard green. At the same time, I have other plans. Like, I'm coloring it like all the metals, like kind of normal. Like most of these are gonna be lead belcher, yada yada. All the trim is like all these spikes and stuff is still going. That's going to be like with my Death Guard army, Balthazar gold, and that's all going to be shaded pretty well. But one other thing I want to do with my Death Guard army, I like to rust it. I like to have rusted metals. So Typhus Corrosion is really, really good at that. It literally just destroys whatever metallic paint it touches. It just corrodes it. Well, it gives it the look of like extremely corroded and rusted metal. And dry brushing this Rise of Rust on helps add to that effect. But I'm going to go heavy on the corrosion, light on the rust. And that's going to go all over all of the metals. Just sporadically. I'm gonna take a little sponge bit as well and just flake it on, just sporadically. I did the same thing with my fetid bloat drone. Like, all the metals are just incoherently rusted into oblivion. So I'm going to be doing that effect on this. Actually, while I'm thinking about it, and while I'm waiting for this to dry a little bit more, I could take the pox furnace and glue this little pipe to it, because these parts are supposed to be glued together. I could do that right now. Yeah, I missed a bit of shading on this. Yeah, so I think I'm going to do that. The thing is, plastic glue will not work at all. That's not plastic that's covering these, it's paint. So plastic glue does not work with it, so I need to use super glue. I'm just gonna glue these together right now. Bip. Gotta hold them together for a hot second. The reason why I'm gluing them together now is because, like that's it. They're pretty much done. I didn't glue them together in the building stage because I wanted the pipe to be base coated lead belcher, because that makes my job easier. That makes the painting afterwards a lot easier. And now, this bit is fully built. I will have to paint this little extension coming off of the pox furnace. I need to paint that lead belcher anyways. So I just glued these two together right now. Because whatever, it's fine. How is this doing? Is it ready for dry brushing yet? Ah, there's one bit I missed for shading. This might take a little bit longer than I was expecting. But that's okay. I've got until February 14th, which is 3 weeks from today, to do this right. So as long as I take this little bits at a time, everything should be pretty much good. I do kind of hope that at least someone else in my Warhammer group does decide to also enter the contest, mostly so that I know who else is going to be in it, and because I think it would be fun. But at the same time, I kind of doubt that's going to happen, to be honest. I'm kind of the most aggressive painter in our group, I think. I think in terms of sheer number of painted models, I'm not winning. Because one of my friends is playing Imperial Guard and has a decent number of guardsmen painted. And a couple tanks. In terms of percentage, Well, that same friend does have a little bit of Space Marines, and most of those are painted, and he has enough to have a fully painted Space Marine army if he runs them as Ultramarines. I almost have enough painted models that I would want to run together to have a fully painted... Actually, no, I think I do have a fully painted Death Guard list. Last time I played him, I just also ran some Nurglings, which are not painted, but well, they have some paint on them now. I undercoated them all Death Guard green earlier, and then just decided to dry brush all of them with Nurgling green to give them a little bit of texture. And then after that, so far all I've done is I've painted all of the horns Xandri Dust. That's it. Not that much. Yeah, so as soon as this shade looks good and is dry, I'm dry brushing Death Guard green back on top. I'm making this the first step, like I did with the Great Unclean one, because it's the biggest and most important detail. Or I guess just the biggest. Well, in this case, it's the biggest. Aside from all the rusting, which will come later. There's also a lot of boils on here, but I know what to do with those. And those can't be done until after the rest of the furnace is painted. And shaded, and dry brushed. So that's that. Except I just remembered that there was a bit on the Pox furnace that I didn't shade. Or the shade didn't catch entirely. Gungo, I agree. Ow. This model is painful. It looks good now. Oh god, there's so much stuff. And there's so little room on my desk. I want to make sure my brushes have somewhat good tips. I say somewhat because they are still Citadel brushes and they all suck. They're just all bad. Don't use them. Unfortunately, I cannot still actually do the thing I was gonna do. I need to dry brush the Death Guard green back on top of all this Egrex Earthshade stuff. And that needs to happen first thing. But since I've been doing all this extra sporadic shading, I can't do that just yet. Oh yeah, that's right. Okay, so there's one piece I have that I didn't glue into the model. I kept it as a sub-assembly because it didn't make sense to put it on the model, to me. So, on the back, there's this bit, which it's just already, like, there. It's got a Nurgle symbol on it, and it looks kind of cool. But over top of this, I'm supposed to take this bit and glue it on like that. Gonna show it on the top down. That doesn't make any sense to me. There's already something there. Why not just... And like, there's already detail there. Like, there's a symbol of Nurgle, and I can also see a bunch of maggots that are flowing out of a broken piece of it. Like, there's maggots right above my finger there. So there's detail there, and it looks like it wants to be shown. So it doesn't make any sense to take another piece and glue that on. I don't know. I don't get it. So for right now, I'm ignoring it, and I'm painting it as if it is supposed to look like how I built it. Because in my opinion, it is. But then again, I'm not a professional Death Guard player, or builder, or whatever. I'm just some dude with a lot of cameras, but really poor camera placement most of the time. I guess I could, while I'm waiting for that to finish fully drying, do some more stuff with this, with the pox furnace. I guess I could add some of the brass trim onto the pipe. Yeah, I'll do that later. Right now, I'm just chilling. But this whole thing looks super cool. And also, it's the first piece of, like, it's the first piece of fortification that's actually, like, pretty good. I'm too sleepy for it only being 4:19 p.m. Oh boy. Should probably put the glue and put the cap back on the super glue. I already used it. I'm good. In fact, actually, after I'm done with the dry brushing, I might honestly be able to glue a lot of these sub-assemblies on. Because, like, there's this one that's supposed to connect these two. I could just put that on. Well, no. No, this one I want to... This one I want to paint separately. Then glue on when this is done. So yeah, I think that's the same with most of those. Yeah, I'll paint the sub-assemblies separately, then glue them on. Because sometimes you get models that look really cool when they're built, like for example this Iron Strider Ballistari that I'm currently in the process of painting, that's why it's not based. Or shaded. There's no shade on this at all, and there needs to be. You put null oil on the metals, and Agric Earthshade on the purity seals, and Seraphim Sepia on the Xantry Dust bits, which actually look really clean and really nice. But this is a huge pain to paint if it's all put together. Whereas if it was separate, it would have been easier. I'm not complaining that much. Like, I bought this model pre-built from a friend. So whatever. Like, it's gonna have use in my army, in my AdMech list. So, who cares? That kind of thing. Either way, it's gonna be painted, and it's gonna look really good. It's just gonna be a little bit more annoying to get there. Dude, it's a huge model. Like, yeah, it is taller than the Great Unclean one. Like, the Great Unclean one comes up to, like, maybe here. And this thing is tall enough to be out of frame. So I'm excited to paint it. It's gonna take a while, but that's okay. I think at this point, actually, it should be good to dry brush Death Guard green on. Let's go with a medium dry brush. That should be good. So, for those of you who don't know how to dry brush, let me show you the way. Put this right here. Shake the pot up as normal. Open it up. Here's what you do. You get a little bit on the tip of the brush. It's kind of hard to show it. There's a little bit of paint there. Then get like a tissue paper or paper towel and just kind of go to town. Like, work the paint into the rest of the bristles and also get most of the paint off. So now there's some paint on this, but not a ton. So that now, when I go to the actual model itself, did I take too much paint off the brush? Or is the Agrax Earthshade just that strong? Yeah, but you're supposed to do just like little motions, and the paint builds up over time. Instead of just there's all that paint, you build it up. And I did take too much off of this. And also it fell into my water pot. So I'm gonna keep this on the side now and go get a new rag. After another sip of water. Water is very good. Alright, I'll be right back. I decided to get 2 rags. One for later storage. The other for right now. So let's do this again, but better this time. Let's see if this works properly. Oh yeah. So now, the Death Guard green is slowly being built up again. There we go. Now it's really working. Okay, so now you can see a little bit anyway, that even though right here, this is where I dry brush the Death Guard Green back on, even though that Death Guard Green is still, it's been reapplied to the model, you can still see the Agrax Earthshade that's underneath it. It's really hard to do on that camera. It's way easier to see in person. So maybe I'll bring this the next time we play some Warhammer, and I'll show you. Assuming I want this thing to leave the house before the contest. We'll see. So yeah, welcome to dry brushing. It's super easy, and it adds so much depth to every model. Well, most models, depending on how you do it. I don't really care that much that I'm getting the dry brushed Death Guard Green onto other parts of the model that won't be staying as Death Guard Green. I'm doing this first so that all of this definition is there. And if it gets onto stuff that doesn't need to be green, I'll just paint over it later and it's fine. Whereas if I were to do this last, that would be a problem. My only focus right now is dry brushing everything onto the shade. There's not a huge amount of battery left on my camera. That's okay, so I've got a second battery pack. Okay. I don't know, like I've also recently I've mostly just been focusing on Death Guard stuff when I play games. Recently I've gotten back into thinking about AdMech and how I can make that list better. And one realization I came to was every single time I've ever played with my AdMech army, I've used Castellan robots. Which is fine, but Castellan robots aren't, always the best option. And technically speaking, there is a better heavy support. And that is the Onager Dune Crawler, which I really want to play. I really want to run it. I want to build it. Well, I don't want to build it, but I want it to be built so I can paint it. I really made the right choice dry brushing the same color onto shaded Death Guard Green. I feel, at least. It adds a lot of really disgusting texture to the model. And that's perfect for what this is. I mean, it's Death Guard, of course. There's a lot of grain and fine detail and texture that I'm really finding while I'm dry brushing this. Because dry brushing reveals all that instantly. so much dry brushing to do. This brush might be like permanently stained Death Guard green to some extent. Okay. Hold on, is there any way I can show this on camera? I'm going to be dry brushing this bit here. Let's see if it'll show. Right now you can see how dark it is, but... just doing this a little bit helps bring out the green. I don't know if that showed properly. Alright. Trying to think of what I should do next after I'm done with this dry brushing. I don't know. Like, what's the next detail I should do? Like, do I want to start on the metals? Do I want to keep working with the flesh of this furnace and do all the boils? I could do that, actually. The boils kind of look like fun to do. So you know what? Yeah, I'm going to do the boils next. And I deal with a lot of boils on the Grin and Clean one too. And those are also kind of fun. But I had to be way more careful there. Whereas here, I don't think I have to be nearly as careful. Because here, touch-ups and fixing mistakes will be a lot easier. It will take a lot less time. Well, not a lot. Honestly, a little bit. I'm still kind of doing the same thing with this model that I did with the Grid and Clean one. Like, I started with a undercoat of Death Guard green, then I shaded everything. In this case, it was Agric Earthshade. With the Grid and Clean one, it was Beltan green. Then I dry brushed a color onto it, and with the Grid and Clean one, I dry brushed a second color on top. In this case, it's just one color, and it's the same color as the undercoat. We're almost done with this. Then I'll dry brush the pox furnace. Actually, no. I'll do to the pox furnace off screen what I do, or off stream, what I do to the main Malignifier on stream, just to help speed things along. I should have been taking progress pictures as I went. Like, I did that with the Great Unclean one sometimes. I just took occasional progress pictures. At first it was after every single step, but that got a little bit redundant. So I just did like every now and then. I don't have a finished picture of it, I don't think. The closest I have is a close-up of the giant bile sword. But before I added the corn red onto it, onto all the skulls. Hold on. One more time. I think that's it. After I buff up a couple more spots. I think that's that. It doesn't look that much different. Especially because my lighting situation is kind of not great. Now I really need to work the Death Guard green out of this brush. Because I got it pretty deep into the bristles. Yeah, I think that's enough of that. It doesn't look too different in the end. I'll keep this tissue around for dry brushing purposes. Okay. Now, here's what I'm gonna do next. Let's paint the boils. I'll do all the dry brushing out to the pox furnace later. Hold on, I have a stupid Discord notification. Hold on. Okay, here's what's happening. Everline Sunset and Reichland Flesh Shade. No, don't open Steam. Oh boy. Okay. Let's paint some boils. What size brush should I use? I think a medium layer is a good idea. Okay, so there's tons of boils all over the model. I want to bring those out. I'm getting hungry, actually. Much better. There we go. Okay, now you're gonna actually be able to watch this. Mostly, even though my hand is in the way right now. I will make mistakes with this, but I can easily clean that up later. Yeah, these are already looking real good. And there's tons of these. Oh, there we go. I just remembered something. It's been brought to my attention a little bit ago that I might not even be able, technically speaking, to use this model in the contest because my game store stipulation says no terrain. Technically speaking, this can count as a terrain piece. So I would need to ask if this is okay. Because if it is, I'm golden. If it's not, well, I've got an alternative. I just have to buy it first. And I've already got all the paints I need to make that work except one. And that's not even a paint, it's a medium. So I can make that feathered bloat drone idea work if I really need to. I just first have to buy the model, which is not super exciting, but that's okay. And I have to build the model, which is even less exciting. I don't like building models. This thing was a pain. It was a pain to build. I didn't have fun building it. I have way more fun painting. And I'm not even like entirely huge on painting, I just kind of like it. Like it's fun to add my own creative touch to what I'm going to be playing with. That's why you might honestly never see me buy pre-painted models. Like, I'll take an unpainted model and work on it for hours until it's where I want it to be. Because it does take me a while to paint. I'm not the fastest painter. I'm kind of a slow painter, honestly. But that's okay. However long it takes me to get models where I want them to be is fine by me. Because it's my army, and they're my models. I'm being Terrible content, man, by not even showing off what I'm doing on camera. But it's just coloring in yellow circles. It's not that exciting. Just going up, there's something that needs to be yellow. There's something that needs to be yellow. And there's a couple mistakes. I can fix that later. I also have a bit of a different mindset when it comes to painting. For the most part, my mindset is just get the paint on the model. Also, thank you. Shading and then dry brushing makes a big difference. Now instead of just a dark, kind of dirty green, it's a really dirty green. And that makes all the difference when it comes to a disease furnace. It is going to look great finished. Regardless of whether or not I can even submit this in the contest, I will be proud of it. Like, it's terrain, so I might not be able to. But who cares? I love it. I wonder if anyone's going to submit a Great Unclean one. Or a Keeper of Secrets. Or a Lord of Change. Or anything like that. Into the contest. I would hope so, because I like the Greater Demons. They look really cool. Granted, I am a Chaos player. I'm a Chaos player that happens to also have a AdMech army. So many boils. Like I said, this thing is made of diseased flesh. And a lot of it. There's still so many on the base. But I think I'll deal with those after I figure out how I'm going to paint the rest of the base. Like, obviously there's all the metal. But there's also the rest of it. Yeah, maybe I should think about the feathered bloat drone idea. I know how I'm gonna do it. And honestly, the only thing that I'm missing to make it fully complete that I know of right now is Lamia Medium. And that's only to dilute a Coelia green shade so that it makes the smoke coming off of it look better. Coelia green shade is a very strong color. And I want to add a little touch of that color to the smoke coming out of it. Lamia Medium is the best way to help dilute that so that it doesn't destroy what you're going for. It's also like $10, which is annoying. Okay, not that many more left. I think I added too much water to that. Are there any more boils I'm missing? I don't think so. So let's just touch up all the ones I already covered. God, this brush tip is already super frayed, rather. There really isn't anything I can do about it. Like, I tried fixing a couple of my brushes, like namely all 3 of my base brushes. Got all the gunk out so they can actually be used again proper, and fix the tips, and it didn't work. So they're kind of just useless brushes now. Well, not entirely useless, but mostly. Man, shut your mouth. I don't need a Citadel brand water cup. I can just use any water cup I want, idiot. Though technically speaking, this does mean I can no longer drink the paint water. I'm kidding. Don't drink paint water, it's very bad, I think. I say I think because I've never tested it and don't really want to. Don't you dare give me Komodo hype. I'm just kidding, do it. Komodo hype is a very good emote. But I think I'm gonna go ahead and shade the boils now. And then probably call it, because I'm hungry. Is Komodo hype the emote that's gonna be more or less replacing Pog? kind of hope it is. Okay, well, if so, that's very good. And good riddance to the Pog man. At least, good riddance to his emote. I mean, it was a good emote. But, goodbye. I think what I'm gonna do is the boils. I'm gonna let this Reichland flesh shade just kind of leak around it. So now it's not just the boils that are shaded; it's the skin, the grafted furnace flesh around it. So that'll be shaded too, at least a little bit. I did the exact same kind of effect with the Great Unclean one. Like, this stuff gets shaded, and then, oh no, the shade happens to leak out around. Oh no. It adds to the effect of incredibly sick, diseased flesh. God, this does look really good. If I can submit it into the contest, I will. Otherwise, bloat drone. It would actually be a lot easier to paint the bloat drone, partially because I already know exactly what color scheme I'm going for. So there would be a lot less guesswork, and I've already done all the planning previously. Oh, my camera's about to die. Unless, hold that thought. Ignore the sound of a water bottle falling. That didn't happen. Where is... Okay. I had to plug in my camera. Now we're good. Now it's charging, right? I think so. That should be good. Give me my water back. Water. Water is very good. Back to the shading. God, this thing just looks so cool. I love it. It was really annoying to build, partially because while I was building it, there's no guides anywhere for a good color scheme for this thing, which is usually the first place I look to try and get ideas. So all of this is coming straight from the brain and from my own experience painting other stuff. Like, I'm taking this idea from when I painted the Grid and Clean one. Well, everything I've done to this model so far, I learned from painting the Grid on Clean one. I undercoated Death Guard green, then I shaded that, then I dry brushed the color on top. Like, all of that's what I did for the Grid and Clean one's skin. Except this time, it was with Death Guard green, which was the same color as the undercoat. For the Grid and Clean one, it was Death Guard green spray, Beltan green shade, sometimes twice. Then it was Elysian green dry brush, and then it was dry brushing Nurgle green. So a little bit different, but same general effect. It's almost all the boils. Just missing one little bit. There we go. I think that might be it for this first session. That's right, this one was a dry brushing rag. This is the regular brush cleaning rag. This water definitely needs cleaning now. Gonna make sure to keep the tip clean, because otherwise it'll never stay clean. It'll fray out even more. And I think that's it for today. This is what we've done so far. It doesn't look like too much, but already, like, it's way darker, way grungier, and now it looks sick in every way that you could possibly mean it. So, I'm going to consider that a complete success. So, is there anyone live right now that I follow that we can go raid? I don't think so. I'm gonna go with no. Unless we want to raid Salty Bet. Or Twitch plays Final Fantasy VII? Hold on, this isn't right. This is very wrong. The Twitch Plays Pokemon channel on Twitch is currently playing Final Fantasy VII. This is so incredibly cursed. Oh no. Okay, well, no, we're not doing that. I'm gonna go chill, not touch this for a bit, and then later we'll do what we just did to this, to the furnace. Dry brush the Nurgle green, the Death Guard green on, I should say, and then paint and shade all of the boils. And that'll be that. This has been fun. I want to do more of this. I want to paint this thing entirely on stream, if I can. Yeah. Good stuff.